Welcome back. Talking with your child about emotional topics such as their mental health can be uncomfortable.
However, openly talking to your children is a great way to help decrease stigma and show that you care. Dr. Molly O'Shea joins us now with some helpful ways to talk to your children about mental health. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
So talk about, how should parents approach having a conversation about mental health with their child?
Mental health conversations start from the very beginning of life. Talking about emotions, good, bad, or otherwise, should be an everyday part of our conversations with our children. And if you treat it that way, then when kids are experiencing those bumps in the road that every kid is going to have, it doesn't feel as uncomfortable to have those conversations. But even if you haven't been having those conversations every day and you've noticed those changes in your child that make you think you need to open up that conversation, being frank, honest, and gently, comfortable saying, I've noticed you're just off your game. I'm here to support you. What's going on is a good way to start that conversation.
And you mentioned watching out for the signs. We've been talking a lot about mental health and the importance of looking out for things. How do you know those recognizable things to say this is a red flag for me to go ahead and have this conversation?
Well, first, I think parents need to trust their instincts. I'm going to give you a list of things to look for sure, but I also want to encourage parents to remember you know your kid best. And even if your child isn't exhibiting the signs of sleep changes or eating changes or withdrawing from their friends or having changes in their school habits or changes in their encouraging behaviors around sports or other activities, not wanting to be engaged, that doesn't mean there isn't a problem. And if your kind of spidey parent sense is going off, you should listen to that. I'd rather have a parent try to open a conversation, even if there isn't a quote-unquote warning sign or red flag, and just show their kid, hey, I care about you, and I'd love to have a conversation, then ignore it because they don't have a warning sign and miss an opportunity.
So following up on that thought, what should parents do if they see that something is wrong but their child is not ready to talk?
Yeah, that happens all the time. Kids are, first of all, especially around middle school and later, kids are trying to assert their independence, right? They want to be just on their own emotionally and doing their own thing activity-wise. So parents are sometimes the last person they want to open up to. So writing your child a letter can sometimes be a tool that parents find is successful because it isn't having that conversation like in your face, in a way that puts that kid a little bit on guard and causes them to push their parent away. So writing it down, literally pen and paper, can often be a way that allows the kid to digest it and then open up.
Any resources that parents can tap into as well just to make this process a little bit easier?
Yeah, your pediatrician, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, as a pediatrician myself, your pediatrician is a fantastic resource. We can do screening assessments to determine whether or not mental health issues are present in your child and use those as a springboard to have a private conversation with your child. And often they'll be more frank with us sometimes than they will with you, and that can sometimes open a conversation as well. You can also talk to your child's teachers or to their coaches or to other parents who are close to your child, aunts or uncles. There are other ways to bring the adults who care about your child in their life into sort of a conversation, and that can help break the ice.
And finally, what role does stigma play in mental health?
Stigma varies, right? Just as everything else might from person to person. And stigma is a real thing often, especially in certain cultures around mental health. I do think that the awareness of mental health issues has broken down some of that stigma, but that doesn't mean that it's easy for anyone to admit to themselves or to admit to anyone else that they're struggling. So stigma needs to be thought about, especially when it comes to how to manage mental health issues, I think, even more so than even admitting you might have a problem. Some people are very ready to say, you know what, I'm depressed or I'm anxious or whatever, but when it comes to actually treating it, like saying I'm going to go to therapy or I'm going to take a medication, I think that's when stigma really rears its ugly head, because they feel like because it's an issue of the brain that somehow they can logically just power through it. But feelings aren't logical.
That's right. Dr. O'Shea, it's an important conversation to have, and thank you for giving us some tools that can help some parents start that conversation.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here.